guys, turbocharged 51 over here. I hope you're having a splendid day wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to Turbo Fox Racers and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. Now guys, in today's video, just like the previous one, we're going to be doing some daily/weekly races. I'm going to be calling them the weekly races because they only rotate weekly, not a daily as they should in the game. But in any cases, so guys, we are doing, this is about a month ago of footage, and excuse this for this video taking so long. This is the third time now that I'm recording the commentary for this video. The first time, the commentary got corrupted, so I couldn't use it, or the files got corrupted. Second time, there was so much background noise, which I have no idea where they came from. And now it's the third time, so we're trying this. Okay, so guys, this was like a tiny endurance race with GT4 cars. So you guys know within Gran Turismo, there's grade 3 and grade 4 cars. So you get grade 1, which is like your LMP1/hypercars that do endurance racing, like your Le Mans cars. Grade 2 is like your fancy Japanese touring cars, but they're like super heavily aero and super powerful engines. They're basically glorified GT3 cars. Then you get grade 3, which is GT3 cars, my favorite racing class cars in the world. And then this class, which is GT4. And GT3 and GT4 are normal road cars that have been souped up to racing spec. But GT4 cars have the basics. It's a roll cage, some slick tires. Some of them have been detuned to make less power because there's like a power band within the class. Some of them have been tuned to put out a little bit more horsepower. Point being is GT4 has got your biggest variation of cars. So, as you guys are seeing this current race, I started last on the grid because I wasn't able to get a quali time in yet. So guys, with GT4 cars, there's 3 drivetrain specifications. So unlike GT3 and GT2, where all the cars have to be rear-wheel drive and they can't go over a certain amount of horsepower or can't be under a certain amount of horsepower, GT4 cars also has the horsepower regulation. So if the equality thing is engaged. But the thing is, here you can have cars that are rear-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, or all-wheel drive, and front-wheel drive. Now let me explain to those of you guys that don't know. Front-wheel drive car is a car that pulls with the front wheel. So when you put your foot down on the accelerator pedal, the front tires are the ones that pull the car, and if you dump the clutch, it's going to spin. Rear-wheel drive is exactly the same as front-wheel drive, it's just to your rear wheels. So it's the exact same thing, just the rear wheels. And then you have all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. Now there is a little bit of difference between the two, but point being is, you've got a car that does both actions. It's front and rear-wheel drive together. Those cars usually are set to that there's like 60% or 60 to 70% of the power going to the rear wheels and the rest to the front. Now, in this specific race, so because there's such a big variation in the GT4 class on Gran Turismo, some of these cars are fictional cars that have been tuned in game. Some of these cars are real life cars that actually do race in real life GT4. So for you guys can see we're on the Nürburgring Grand Prix track. Now this race had tire wear and fuel consumption. Fuel consumption, what am I saying? But you also lost fuel. Point being is fuel and tires got less. So basically here, the tire wear was so minimal, you really didn't have to worry about tires, but the fuel was heavy, so the cars would like a rugga chugga. And with this current one that I am busy doing, you guys can see I'm in the M4, obviously I'm in the BMW. And for this specific track, the reason I explained the difference between front-wheel drive, or four-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive is because for this specific track, the four-wheel drive cars performed the best, the front-wheel drive cars a little bit worse, and the rear-wheel drive cars by far were the odd ones out. The thing is, most of the cars in this class are rear-wheel drive. You do have a reasonable amount of front and four-wheel drive cars, but the rear-wheel drive cars just didn't suit this track. And even more, different manufacturer cars will perform differently at tracks. And it was very clear to me that this M4 did not like the Nürburgring Grand Prix track. This was one of the worst cars to use for this race. Besides the fact that it was stupidly heavy on fuel, it really, as you guys can see, I'm constantly trying to counter oversteer. The car's rear was it wasn't working with me, and I very quickly realized that choosing this car, even though I absolutely adore it, it was a massive mistake. But we're going to go into this race, and now while you guys are watching this absolutely horrible performance from me, But again, I'll take the shot on the chin. This wasn't my best performance. But then you have stuff like that happen. People on Gran Turismo, even more than in the F1 game, do not have a cooking clue what racing etiquette is. And in Gran Turismo, you literally have no excuse. Because you literally need to, before you can even play online, watch a video and read some things that literally explain racing etiquette to you. So you have no excuse not to know how to race cleanly and properly. But people just don't care very clearly. So the amount of dirty drivers, a little bit of lag that I had to compete with, and just a car being pretty crappy. Yeah, this was a very crappy performance. But a lot of these guys really just, and it's with all due respect, but honestly, they shouldn't be playing racing games because they honestly can't drive. Or if they want to play racing games, play arcade games, or at least get good before you want to try and race online, because really some of these guys, like, obviously I understand it's racing, and sometimes there will be contact, but just because there's accidental contact between two cars doesn't give you the right to just shove the guy off track or go for insane dive bombs like Max Verstappen, where you know there's going to be contact and then they do it in your blind spot. So it really wasn't the most fun experience, this. But all I want to say is, please, if you are a Gran Turismo player and you race extremely dirty, please stop playing online, or at least play single player until you get better, so that you can actually, or just learn a few on-track, learn a little bit of on-track behavior while in race trim, and then things will go a lot better. In any case, so back to the video, guys. So like I said, the four-wheel drive cars were the cars to beat here. As you guys can see with this race currently, there's actually a rear-wheel drive car leading the way in a Ferrari 458, as there's a 458 in front of me that just ate some grass and just absolutely went grass cutting, and that is my fault. I will take the shot on the chin there. That was fully my fault. I thought the guy was behind me, he wasn't, and I just forced him off track. So that's my fault. I sincerely apologize to that British Ferrari driver, because if he sees this video and he sees what I did, I am very much the skis, ne? So as you guys can see here, we are currently sitting in P9 after starting P14 or P15. But another thing about this race, guys, that was not my game lagging. Now it's starting like the recording lag. The first shot was literally just me lagging and staying in one spot for like a solid 5 seconds. In any case, another rule for this race, as you guys can see, I just exited because I was like, there's no point in showing the rest of that. In this race, you have to use, so we are allowed to use racing mediums, racing hards, and if there's rain, intermediates or wets. So some races there would be rain, but I didn't have a single one where there was rain. And you had to make the mandatory pit stop within the race and use both compounds of tire, meaning the hards and the mediums. So because the tire wear was so little, the mediums could go most of the way on their own. So if you could do like 2 to 3 laps on the hards, go onto the mediums and just push all the way to the end, that was what I very quickly realized was the best strategy. But now you guys can see I am in my Lamborghini Huracan GT4 car. And this car immediately felt a million times better. I think I took something like 2 seconds off my time with the Beamer, and then I just started going quicker and quicker and quicker with this car. So this current part of the video is my fastest lap in qualifying trim to qualify for the online events. For you guys that don't know how the online events work, you qualify on your own, and when you load into a lobby, the fastest time obviously starts on pole, and then where your time places you within the other drivers in the lobby, that is where you pull away from the grid. So, and this is not a grid start, it's a rolling start, so the cars roll, I think, at between 40 and 60 kilometers an hour. The light goes green, or in this case, the game says 3, 2, 1, go. You put your foot down and the race is underway, like proper endurance racing style. But you guys can see here, first thing I want to mention is the track limits here around the Nürburgring need a little bit of polishing from Polyphony Digital, because there are a few spots where you can very clearly see I exceed track limits by a country mile, and I do not get penalized for it. But the thing is, some tracks on Gran Turismo do have that very big amount of play that you can use. So you guys are going to see after this, I'm going to show you guys an off-board replay as if you would watch it on TV. And there's certain parts where I really take proper risk with track limits. But it's what got me this lap, and this was by far my fastest lap. I tried some of the other four-wheel drive cars, I tried some of the quicker rear-wheel drive ones, and I think 2 front-wheel drive cars. I think I tried the Audi TT and the Suzuki Swift. They were good, but they weren't, you know, four-wheel drive class. But this was by far my best time. I tried to beat it with other cars. I tried beating it with this car. Couldn't manage it. So as we come around the final corner, you guys can see I get to have a beautiful run through there. And literally over the line, it's a 2-minute 5.2 second lap time. And here's the offboard so you guys can properly see this quick lap. So obviously my record is now on the bottom right of your screen, but this is how it happened. And obviously this Lambo just sounds absolutely phenomenal. And the only thing that you had to be careful about this Lambo is braking too hard for too long. The front tires would just go into an understeer slip and you would go very wide for corners. Or if you just put the power down a little bit too early and the front tires just take way too much load, the car will understeer wide. But besides that, no oversteer problems, and the car was very stable. So you guys can see that through those first few corners, I really went for it with track limits. And again, I wasn't penalized for it, so I used it because some of the top times for this event, which were utterly insane, they were like in the 2-minute 2 second bracket. I do not know how people did that, and most of them used the Lamborghini. Like, if I wish I could view those laps, because I'm almost 100% certain that those drivers as well used every single millimeter of the track limits that they could. But now you guys can see it there. Once again, I go a little bit wide. I dip a wheel into the gravel, but it didn't really cost me much time. And now through this next part, the Schumacher S, what an absolute amazing feeling in a four-wheel drive GT4 car. It just feels so damn good. And now we head towards the final sector of the track, into the penultimate chicane of the track. You guys can see that a lot of people tend to brake very late there and take a very wide line. I do not prefer that. I want to brake early, take a tight line, and set myself up properly for the second part of the chicane, which leads onto the back straight. So the more speed you have coming out of that quarter, the less time you lose on the straight. And with GT4 cars not being the fastest cars in the world, if you lose straight line speed, you're going to lose sometimes up to a second on short straights. So that is something that I try to optimize. And then once again, through this final corner, absolutely just riding the curb like a skateboard. Not literally, but at some stages it felt like riding the curb like a skateboard. We come across around the final corner, beautiful line, and we do our 2-minute 5.2. I almost said 2-minute 2.5. I wish I put up that lap time. That would make me one of the fastest drivers in the world. And guys, getting towards the Gran Turismo videos, I want you guys to know I am not some sort of esports electrifying every single race that I do level type player. I think I am better and more consistent in Gran Turismo than on the F1 game. But it doesn't. I'm still an average Joe that has been playing racing games for so many years. I would put myself in above average, but that is it. Nothing more than that. So don't click on my videos expecting this insanely crazy, stupid, fast, world record lap setting driver, because that is not me. But there's a lot of videos that I have planned for this game, and there's a lot of fun content that I think we can make on this game. So we are underway for the second race you guys are seeing. I think this was like my 6th race of the day where I wasn't absolutely just dusted by dirty drivers and extreme lag. So through this next corner, and guys, just also by the way, please leave a like down below on the video, and also in the comments say thank you to my girlfriend, because this video was actually recorded at her place because my area had load shedding. So in any case, drop a comment down below, leave a like, and if you are not yet subscribed, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe down below, and don't forget to ding that bell to remember a future video, live stream, or short here on TurboFox Racers. So you guys can see I am with the start. I actually had a pretty good getaway from off the line. The 458 and the Genesis G70 was really not letting me go easily, but I knew as soon as I got into a rhythm with the Lamborghini, I would very much slowly but surely start breaking away from them, because this car's corner exit is just insane. And with the four-wheel drive on this track that is four-wheel drive friendly with this specific event, I knew eventually I would just break away from them if I could keep the mistakes to a minimum and take my corners like I was intending to. I was going to break away from these guys before you could say Lamborghini. But also, again, now we get to the other part of the race where I had to save fuel. So guys, always my strategy usually on a first lap is keep the fuel and power, try and build a gap, and if you can't, go back to fuel saving and manage the race from there. So this first lap, I kept the car on max power mode, drinking fuel to try and break away from these guys. And as we get to this final part of the track, as I have a little bit of a lock up there on my left front, they were still right behind me, and you guys can see the Ferrari is in my slipstream now, and I thought honestly here he was going to go for a move, but it doesn't seem like he is going to, and then the Infinity is coming with him. The Renault Megane in P4 was a little bit further behind, but here you guys can see wonderfully through the chicane, and we are on our way. And for those of you guys that are asking what happens if you don't use both compounds of tires, so the medium and the hard, what will happen is at the end of the race you're going to have a 1 minute penalty added to your time, and then wherever you finish off with 1 minute being added onto your time, you're usually outside of the top 10. So it's a hefty penalty. But you guys see, we get to lap 3, and this is where I was like, okay, all these guys behind me are probably on the mediums, I'm on the hards, let's do the strategy that I feel works, let's dive it into the pit lane, fill the Lambo up, and then push for those final 6 laps to try and get back into this lead. So you guys can see I put on the mediums, and I'm going to fill the Lambo up, save a bit of fuel, and then in those last 3 laps I can properly push, because I'm not going to have to worry about conserving fuel anymore. And guys, honestly, this Lambo, if you race this event and you did not use the Lambo, you lost out. It was such a fun experience, and it was so nice to do it. I honestly enjoyed the heck out of it. The other car that also felt nice was the Alfa Romeo 155, like the vintage touring car, but the Lambo honestly felt a bit better, and let's be honest, it looks better, and it also sounds better. So I know that Alpha V6 revs to like 11,000 RPM, but you can't beat a V10. You just can't beat V10 power. So you guys can see we jump onto the start of lap 5, and I'm right behind McLaren 650S. There's currently a McLaren 650S leading as well, but that is still with everybody diving into the pit lane. Probably from here till about lap 7, people went into the pit lane at random times. So through the first corner, you guys can see I get a good run out of here, almost make contact with the McLaren, but I actually left with a little bit. He goes for a big block pass, which I wasn't expecting, so we do make contact. I have the inside line for this next corner. I'm late on the brakes. I just put my nose in there. He has a little bit of a wash of understeer, and that is all that I needed up into P10. So that's the only problem with my strategy. I pit so early that a lot of these guys, I'm going to have to fight them to get further up the grid. And this is the part of the race that I honestly I disliked so badly, because not the GTR we are currently behind, the Subaru ahead of the Nissan. This guy in the Subaru is one of the dirtiest drivers I've come across so far by playing Gran Turismo. He brake checks and he goes for insane dive bombs. And I was in multiple lobbies with this guy, and almost every time some sort of contact was made with him. You guys are going to see now, we're going down the back straight. The Lambo is quicker in a straight line than the Subaru. So we go here and he just decides, okay, I'm going to brake check the hell out of you, and there's no way I can go. He almost stops dead in the road. And I'm just like, and now I'm going to get a penalty because I ran into the back of him. Look, you guys, 2-second penalty. So that's a 2-second slowdown penalty. And for those of you guys that watched my first video on Gran Turismo, a slowdown penalty means on one of the fastest sections of the track, your car will automatically apply the brakes until you get down to about 80 to 60 kilometers an hour, and it will stay there until the penalty runs out. But as soon as you start hitting the brakes, the penalty already starts to go down. So you don't have to be on like that stupid low speed. As soon as the brakes engage, the penalty starts subsiding. But the thing is, so on a straight, especially in a class like GT4, losing time like this, so you guys can see down, and then only I can go again. In a class like this, you don't lose 2 seconds. You lose like 5 to 6 seconds on that specific lap. It's insane. And now again, I'm behind the Subaru. He just leaves the door open and then decides, okay, I'm just going to stop again. Luckily this time I did not get a penalty, but at this stage you guys can think I was fuming inside the cockpit. I was like, I honestly am tempted to just not brake into the first corner and send you to Narnia. But because I'm a good driver and because I'm not a dirty driver, I decided against that. So we get past the Subaru. Excuse the little jump in the recording there, guys. Again, you guys know there's nothing I can do about that. But in any case, so currently we are just chilling. We are looking all nice and dandy. And we get towards the final lap of the race. We set a fastest lap from lap 8 to lap 9, a 2 minute 5.9, almost as quick as my qualifying lap, but that is obviously with a little bit heavier fuel. And now we're just going to go around for our final lap. And guys, even look at my mediums. They are barely worn. If you guys look to the bottom left of the screen, there's the timer that's almost on 18 minutes now. Then there's like a little like tube thing that's for when it rains. Then there's a little like tiny car model with 4 huge white tires. You guys can see there's a little red line on top of all of them. the bigger that red gets, the more wear your tires have on. So it basically just works like a little tube that just goes down and down and down. The lower it gets, the less grip you have. So you guys can see the tire wear was almost non-existent. But in any case, we are now going towards the middle sector of this lap, and honestly, this is my favorite section of the track. Down the hill towards the hairpin and then up through the Schumacher S into the next chicane. I love this section of track. The Nürburgring Grand Prix track is really not one of my favorites. Obviously, you guys know my favorite circuit in the world is the full Nürburgring, the Nordschleife, with the Grand Prix track attached to it. But the Grand Prix track alone, when it comes to normal racetracks, yeah, not one of my favorites. I don't even think this track would even crack the top 10. I think it would be like top 20, maybe top 30. But in any case, so you guys can see here, going through this next section, you guys can see I'm a bit flustered, and I didn't know why. For some other reason, always on the final laps of my races, as you guys have seen already. For some other reasons, I get flustered, and then I sometimes panic and do something stupid. But luckily, I didn't do something stupid. It just wasn't a very good lap time. But I had over 6 seconds in the bank from the actual Subaru that brake checked me twice. But there was some wonderful news at the end of this race, which I hope I kept in the video to actually show you guys. With this video being a month old and me failing to record commentary twice for it already, you guys can imagine my knowledge about this video is a bit blurred. So here we go across the line, and yes, I kept this in, and you guys are going to see as the Subaru comes towards the line, he did not do the mandatory tire stop. Well, he did stop, but he didn't put on the other set of tires. So 1 minute added to his time, where he was only 8 seconds behind me at the finish line. It is now 1 minute and 8 seconds. And then you have the GTR, the Genesis, all these other cars, and you guys are going to see now how many of these guys actually did get 1 minute penalties. So the McLaren, the Ferrari, all of these guys, 1 minute penalties, boom, you just get dropped. So even if you were like 40 seconds behind me, you're still going to beat them. And that is the nice thing. Like, look at the guy that got 5th. He was 32 seconds behind me. Even the Alfa, 36 seconds behind me, and they still get good positions. The Ferrari in 5th actually had a 1 second penalty, so he probably got that within the final few corners and wasn't able to serve it, so then that gets added to your time. But a 1 second is a lot better than a 1 minute penalty. It's just not as bad as a disqualification, which I feel should happen in that race. It shouldn't just be a 1 minute penalty. Disqualify someone if they don't want to keep to the rules. Now we jump into that same week, the GT3 sprint style event. Easy 5-lap race around the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Nothing crazy, a little bit of tire wear, a little bit of fuel, really nothing major. You didn't have to worry about tire wear or fuel, and the only tires you were allowed to use were the hard compound tires. So here we go, you guys can see into the first corner. I'm leading the way from 3 GTR Nismos. I've got a fellow South African starting in 3rd. And then for this event, as you guys can see, it is dominated by GTRs and Porsche 911s. So those two cars were mostly the quickest cars for this event. I don't know why, but the Porsche 911 just glues with this track like you wouldn't believe. And the GTR was just stupid quick in a straight line. The Beamer, I'm driving the M6 GT3, as you guys can see. The Beamer was honestly just an in-between. Like, it was decent in a straight line, it was good, and it was decent in the corners. It was basically the middle point meeting between the Porsche and the GTR. The Porsche, which had the corners, and the GTR, which had the straights. This car was like a blend in the middle of those two. And honestly, for those of you guys that don't know, this is the exact car that I won my PS4 at a gaming convention. This exact car, only on the previous game, Gran Turismo Sport. But this was the car that I drove, just not this track. The track that we drove was the Brno circuit. In any case, back to action. As you guys can see there was a little bit of an oopsie that I made there. And it didn't go too great, but we keep going, and luckily we can still defend from the wonderful GTR. And it's about 8/10 now, almost a second, and the main thing about this is you just want to get out of the 1 second range so that the cars can't slipstream you. On this game, there isn't something like DRS or overtake mode for a button you can press. There are cars that do have electrical help that you can use, like the Super Formula cars have got like an overtake mode that you can press the whole time, but you eventually run out of it. They actually call it in real life push to pass. Is like the Indy cars use it as well, but you only have a certain amount that you can use. But for this class GT3 cars, it's engine, driver, tires, go for it. And as you guys can see currently, there's an Italian in P3 and a Lamborghini Huracan really making a good name for himself in that Lambo. The Huracan was a lot like the Beamer. It was like a middle ground between the Porsche and the Nissan. So the Lamborghini was also a very decent choice for this event, but I gel the best with this M6. It's not my favorite car in the GT3 class. There are cars that I enjoy driving more, but it is just a solid car, and obviously because I won my PlayStation with this car, it's got a little bit of sentimental value, and I absolutely adore driving this car. It sounds good, it handles good, it feels good. It's just a little bit, if you like do very long endurance races, it is a chugga boy with fuel. It's very heavy on the sauce, but it is all good. We digress and we move. But here you guys can see we are now on to the 2/3 into the 4th out of 5 laps. And then you guys can see it's a 7-second gap from me to the GTR behind. The Lambo is still in P3 with a Porsche P4, another GTR in P5, an M6 in P6, and then there are another 2 GTRs in P6 and P7. My South African compatriot unfortunately fell down to P7 from his starting position P3. The only thing, once again, with online races is you do get a lot of dirty drivers, and some of them honestly just don't know how racing properly on track works. They just go for broke, and then they just ruin their own and other people's races, and they don't care. Which is something that I wish actually more games made as much effort as Gran Turismo to actually let people see that. But I mean, you can only do so much, and then other people need to start using their IQ points. In any case, you guys can see here now we start the final lap of this wonderful race. I've been leading from start to finish, and once again, I'm so comfortable in this AM6. It's just a wonderful car, and it just feels so good. Look, it does bite back. If you are a little bit throttle happy like myself, this car will very quickly tame you, because if you are too eager with the throttle, on the throttle with this car, it will spit you into a spin or send you straight to Narnia, and the end of Narnia is hitting a crash barrier. So just if any of you guys decide to pick up Gran Turismo 7 and you want to try the GT3 cars, M6, wonderful car to try, but I'm just saying it bites back when you least expect it, so respect the BMW. So guys, I'm just showing you guys the final lap here of a lap here around the circuit Spa-Francorchamps in a GT3 car with someone who has above average performance on Gran Turismo 7. So guys, you guys are never going to hear me like brag about my skill. I'm a very I almost said egotistical person. I'm a very much not an egotistical person. Oh my word, why am I talking about Persians? I do not know, guys. I'm sorry, it's tired, it's evening. It's the 3rd time I'm trying to record the commentary for this video, and now I'm repeating myself, so just bear with me. Bear with me, and show me that you bear with me by hitting the like down below. In any case, so I'm very humble. I don't brag about my skill. If I have a good performance, I am not that humble that's going to say like, yeah, I could have done better, or it still wasn't perfect. I would be like, this was a damn good performance. I'm going to pat myself on the back, but that's going to happen very minimal. In any case, you guys can see here, heading through one of the final corners of the race, I lose the rear end of the Beamer, just took too much curb on the entry of the corner, and my steering wasn't smooth enough. I kind of yanked the car, and with me applying power, the BMW bit, and she bit hard, and it almost cost me the race here. You guys can see the GTR, which was like an 8 to 9 second gap, is within 2 seconds, and I was just like, oof, we're not doing that again. So yeah, on Gran Turismo, I still need to get over my fear of final lap bottles, because the fact that I'm scared about it makes me do it more. So I need to get over that fear. But in any case, that will all come in due time. But this was just an easy race and a nice race to show you guys we come across the line to take the rubber dub. But guys, that has been this wonderful video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for staying till the end. Before you guys go, please go check out the links in the description down below for some of my other series here on the channel. Make sure to go check out me on social media. If you want, share this video with your friends, tag me in the post or the story, and I will give you a shout out in a future video, as well as on my social medias. While you're down there, if you've not yet hit the like, Come on, man, hit the like. Clearly you've enjoyed the video because you're still here. And if you're new to the channel and you have not yet subscribed, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe down below and don't forget to ding that bell to never miss a future video, live stream, or short here on the channel. And welcome to the family, you insane TurboNatic. Guys, I know these videos have like quick intros and outros, but I mean, it's fun to make them and there's still a lot coming. I hope you guys have enjoyed. And again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for staying till the end. I'll see you guys for whatever content comes next. Cheers!